Right. So we had the um, we had the a climax to the British and Irish Lions tour of Australia, the Test series, I should say, with the British and Irish Lions winning with a last minute try to beat the Wallabies 29-26 and clinch their first series win in 12 years. In fact, the last time they won a series was against Australia in 2013. Of course, back then they needed to, they had to win the third test to win the series. This time, of course, they do it with a game to spare. And yeah, look, now I'm gonna put it out there. Look, I've been battling a bit of a cold of a flu last couple of days, so I didn't manage to watch the whole game. Although I certainly have watched the key highlights. It looked like the Wallabies, yeah, as we had hoped, they definitely stepped up from the first test. Certainly, I guess having the likes of Rob Valentini, Will Skelton there will definitely give them a boost. Obviously, the Wallabies had to, they certainly had to step up their game if they wanted to keep the series alive, and certainly for the sake of, rugby in Australia, for the fans at the 90th, I'm not sure how many. I'm wondering how many. I'm not entirely sure what the proportion of the 90,000 plus fans were Wallabies, and certainly a fair few chunk of them. You got to remember with these British and Irish Lions tours and the fact that there are a lot of British and Irish expats in Australia and New Zealand who would have come for this, they would have made the majority of them. But in any case, rugby kind of needed, we needed the Australians to turn up, and boy, did they do that. Joseph Swai, the backs showed some really, really good class, and they really put the Lions under pressure. But the Lions came back in the second half and showed their immense depth and power, and then of course they scored the winning moment pretty much right at the end. Now, first things first, I sound like Amy Winehouse because, as I said, I've been battling a flu. And second thing, I'm not gonna show any of the footage because I have done a video like this in the past, which got a lot of hits, and it got taken down, and I don't want that to happen. That winning moment, of course, coming to Irish winger Tommy Freeman, who I think that's a deserved moment for him. He's certainly been one of the standout stars for the Lions on this tour. But yeah, look, it's going to be overshadowed by, I guess, probably mostly by the Australian public, naturally, by what happened just before. Now, I'm not going to claim to be firstly, I'm not going to claim to be a full expert in the law, so I will leave that to those who know. I have some basic understanding about head contacts, tackles, and being able, you're certainly allowed to clear players in the ruck as long as it's not around the head or neck, and you have to be on your feet, look, I guess, yeah, there is. I guess what I prefer to do is leave you to judge in the comments. But a couple of phases before the ball's passed to Freeman, who finds, who is in the space. The overlaps there, and he runs in to score the winning try for the Lions. There's a moment where the ball's on the ruck. Welsh flanker Jack Morgan, who's come off the bench, he goes into the ruck, looks, and he clears another substitute, Carlos Tizano. Now, for all intents, it looked like it was high. It was certainly, ideally. Obviously, in rugby, when you the golden rule in rugby is you always try and aim, always go below the torso, the chest area. Anything neck and head, you're kind of playing a bit of Russian roulette. It looked like Jack Morgan might have targeted his head show from the first glance. And yeah, look, the Australian, look, in New Zealand, you get the Stan Sport commentators, so the Australian commentators. So there's always going to be an element of bias there. Although I did hear some of the Sky Sports UK comment, and they did have some question marks about, they had some concerns, I'd say, about Jack Morgan's technique and all that. Harry Wilson does come to the ref. Funnily enough, it's how French refs and Lions deciders, they seem to be a dangerous combo. In any case, Harry Wilson comes to the ref. I'm pretty sure they're gonna go up because it's such a big moment in the game. Because there's no such thing as a challenge system in rugby, but the whole play is sort of reviewed upstairs, and yeah, the TMO finds, TMO ref decide there's no foul play there, and the tries, the tries allowed to stand. I guess, for me, looking at it, it's definitely, so let's go back there. I think the World Rugby's got something called like a HCP, like head protocol, and there's like a tree there. The first thing is if there's head contact, yes or no. For me, I think this looked like definitely wasn't to the head. I think from the first glance it might have looked like it was to the head, but yeah, it was definitely more to the shoulder. So still high, but not to the head. So in the case it's no. So that HCP, I think it's irrelevant here. I guess you've got to look at other things. Was he on his feet? Both players were on your feet, and it goes to the shoulder. Jack Morgan clears him. Well, it's to the shoulder. Look, to be honest, I don't know if maybe may call it an experience or not. Tizano doesn't really seem to make a huge fuss about it. I think it feels more like his captain is making more of a fuss, which I guess, if anything, there's a series on the line here. If 26, if the tries reverse, Wallabies win the match and they keep the series, they send the series is alive, and it goes to Sydney. So you would be willing to try anything. But yeah, look, I think so in short, I don't think, the head protocol there, I think that's completely out. That's irrelevant here, in my opinion. Even if it is high, it's to the shoulder. But I think that's perfectly. That's nothing to suggest that's illegitimate. Look, if point me out if I'm wrong, I'm happy to stand corrected there. So Tizano's clear. Jack Morgan breathes a sigh of relief. The only Welshman in the tour, fortunately, is not gonna. At least Welshman does something good for rugby. So yeah, there you go. And the British and Irish Lions win 29-26. And now the game in Sydney is pretty much a dead rubber, which I think we'll talk about in another video. But yeah, that was the moment again. Look, I would like to hear the thoughts on that Jack Morgan, Carl Tizano moment, that their refs get it right. Or that, is there something that needs to be done with World Rugby? Is there something wrong with the rules? I'd like to hear your thoughts. And of course, look, that the Lions deserve to... No, I mean, to be fair, I think the University of the Lions, they would have said the Lions certainly deserve to win the series. They've shown by far that they're the better team, looking really good for a 100% record on this tour, which I don't think hasn't happened. I think that's ever happened. But yeah, what I'd like to hear, thoughts on the Wallabies. Look, I think they played really well, and I'd like to see the Australian public get behind them, even though they've lost. They showed a lot of courage, endeavour, and enterprise in this. And I think, with the Rugby World Cup in a few years' time, this is a team that is, hopefully seems to be getting better and better. You've got stars like Joseph Swahili there. So yeah, look, what are your thoughts? And of course, if you like this video, feel free to like, and don't forget to subscribe.